Hi, everyone. Welcome to Accountable, where your business is our business. My name's David Peters. It is so good for all of you to be joining us here. Hey, especially this time of the year, I think that we are all looking and trying to figure out how we can just get a little bit more time. How is it that we can be a little bit more efficient? How is it that we can save time for ourselves? Whether that be time that we want to save so that we can actually spend more time with loved ones, whether that's time that we save so that we can take on more clients, maybe grow our business a little bit more than what we've had. Whatever the reason, I think that, one thing that I have always said, especially about those of you that work in financial services, I've always said that I have never met a financial services professional that ever said, "Hey, Dave, I have plenty of time on my hands, and I don't need any help there." I think that's a pretty common problem for all of us. And so my guest today is Cory Gayman, who is going to help us try to streamline some of our accounting processes and some of the and help us just to be a little bit more efficient in what we're doing today. And so Cory has a great background. He is the CEO, CFO, and founder of JCG CPA firm. Before that, he was out on his own. He working for as out on his own as a CPA, so an entrepreneur, if there ever was one. I think that, when you own your own firm and you just sort of take yourself and sort of build something on your own, you got to know something about time. Otherwise, you're never going to get it done, because that is a humongous task. And so we're very lucky to have Cory on the podcast here today. So Cory, welcome to Accountable.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you having me.
So, Cory, this whole thing about time, like I said, I mean, I think that CPAs and financial advisors and, financial services professionals, man, we love to work. We love to, kind of put our heads down. We love to see things get done. But, the thing is that somewhere along the way, and some of us are a little bit slower learners than others, but somewhere along the way, I think that we realize that we just can't do as much as we would like to. And so I guess, when we talk about this, what is our issue with just not having enough time? Is it that we just use our time sort of, inefficiently, or is it that, something in the accountant's DNA? What is it about, this issue that we always have with time?
Time it's finite, and God gave us 24 hours in a day, and then he demanded that we sleep some of those hours. So as accountants, as financial professionals, we are very product driven, we do not like to leave projects open. I mean, right. I know we all feel that way, and we're deadline driven for sure. So getting things done before that deadline and relaxing afterward. So, I mean, I have at this point over 40 employees, and I have to try to pull them back. I have to try to make them take time off. That's just right. With our mindset and with how we compartmentalize things, we want to get things done. So I believe that we create that problem. And then what I'm trying to do, and even more lately, is try to make that better for my employees, my staff, my clients, myself. I've got a family with 3 small kids, and I'd like to spend a little bit of my time with them as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, those things, those important things in our life, and trying to create a good balance is what we're after.
I always am intrigued by that concept of a work-life balance, because I it's one of those things that I think that we talk about as being sort of the ideal. I have yet to see a CPA that has actually said, "Hey, I have good work-life balance." And by the way, and if, for those of you that are listening, okay, if you do have good work-life balance, please let me know. I would love to talk to you.
What I've learned is take it on a month-to-month basis, or even an annual basis, instead of trying to hit the day-to-day. Because, like I do with these deadlines, we have to put in the extra time at certain periods. But, that's 15 weeks during tax season. The rest of the year, we can manage it better. We can be more involved, and we can get the rest we need, and be with our families, do our own hobbies, do whatever we want outside of the office. I think it's all about compartmentalism. You have to schedule that time and make it important.
Right. Yeah. So I think that raises a good point here. Maybe some of it is or at least I think what you're saying is that at least some of this could be due to maybe sort of bad prioritization, maybe not making time for some of the things that you want to do.
Well, and during those deadline driven seasons, it is priority to take care of those projects. It is priority to take care of our clients. We're in this to make money. That is our time to make money. We understand that. And that's what's best for our families as well. I've found the ability to shut that off is what you have to try to, and the ability to adjust. That's what you have to try to attain. Once that 4/15 deadline or 9/15, 10, they're all over the year. Once that deadline is passed, you pull yourself out and take a little time off. And even this year, we just had a really big employee workshop, and we talked about this a lot. I had a stress management doctor come in and talk to us. I had a few things like that to stress to my employees why this is important. And we're actually going to shorten our work week a little bit. We're gonna go on a 32-hour work week. That's the basis, but again, like I said, it's an annualized style concept. So we work hard in the season, we take a little time in the off season. And the projects that we have to do in the off season, they need to understand that. Those clients do understand that it's not as urgent anymore. And we're not going to act like it, because we can't, I'm 39 years old, and I'm starting to notice the effects of aging. I'm starting to feel I just can't run 20 hours a day every day for 7 days in a row like I used to.
Right. Oh, and I think you pointed out a couple of interesting things here. So one, I think, is you kind of have talked about, or at least your culture is at your firm, is kind of this idea that you come to bat when we need you to come to bat, right? I mean, so it's tax season, so we need you to, we're going to need more of you than we do the rest of the year, but we're also okay with you with kind of dialing back a little bit on kind of those less stressful times.
Absolutely. And not putting the urgency on every single project in the off season, even just maintaining when you're at work, even just slowing down just a little bit, just so we're not constantly at that high stress levels. I mean, we learned a lot just from that doctor that came to speak, that it really affects your entire body and your mind when you're constantly under that fight or flight syndrome. So,
yeah. Let me ask you kind of, I think what is probably the one thing that I think kind of maybe is most disruptive to kind of the balance that we have. And that is, this guy right here. I mean, I remember one time I have a very good friend of mine who I'm not going to name because I like him, but he was an auditor for a firm, and he used to say that he would wake up in the middle of the night and be headed towards the restroom or something like that, or to get a glass of water. And he would check his email on his phone. Yeah. And I remember, and Cory, I said to him, I said, what are you going to do at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, for that particular client that couldn't wait until 6?
Right. And, that is, we have to talk about some technology here. That technology has made our jobs easier. It's made us more efficient. However, it's made us significantly more accessible, and the inability to unplug. So you have to be deliberate, and you have to set those boundaries in your own personal life, and no one else can do it for you. That's a very individual decision to do and to make. And once you wake up and look at that phone, then your brain turns on, then you can't go back to sleep. Right. That creates more problems there. So.
Yeah. Do you think that the expectations of clients and maybe just the outside world has kind of just changed a little bit? I mean, with technology, because you're right. I mean, we're always accessible right now. I mean, I think, very few people don't have smartphones these days. So they're kind of constantly, even when they're not working, they're still kind of working.
Right. And I heard that when I got started, a few professionals would say, "Oh, I know you're always working, right? So I can contact you anytime, right?" Yeah. No, you can't. And I think setting those clear boundaries with our clients is important. We attempt not to give out our cell phone numbers. It is very difficult, especially in smaller towns, if you're based in a small town, because you already know everybody. But even if you do have to, for convenience reasons during work, setting a clear boundary with that client, say, look, I will not respond until office hours. But you're right. We will have clients that want to text in the middle of the night or and expect a response. And we just set those boundaries up front, and we be clear about it, and be expressly say it, so that there's no confusion.
Yeah. Well, have you ever had to get rid of a client? I mean, does it ever come to the point where it's like, hey, like this is just you're you've been over the line enough times that
Right.
we have to part
Yeah.
ways?
They usually flesh themselves out, and we'll give them those warnings a few times. And if they we've had something that's not going to work for me. I need you available all the time. So yes, we have parted ways. I've made that hard line with my employees that I don't want you to feel like you have to do that. Clients can't do that to us. And honestly, that's not just our industry. That's across industries right now.
Right.
Your insurance agent, they are already on call sometimes, but it should be important. It shouldn't be just you have a quick question at midnight or at 10 on Sunday, maybe, or a day that you're trying to actually unplug. But it's all industries right now that we are just connected to that phone. And now it's bled into even our more efficient work processes at work. At the office are now tying themselves back to our cell phone as well. So, 10 years ago, you could literally just turn it off or put it in the drawer or leave it in the car. Now you have to authenticate to get into your program or to get onto the server or whatever is needed. And sure, those are good security items, but they're tying us to it even more.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds to me like technology, at least in your eyes, is kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, it's a good thing. It can increase efficiency, but maybe it's not always the answer.
So don't get me wrong. I believe it's great, but I don't believe it's always the answer. I do believe we need to disconnect. However, I'm always been on the forefront of whatever technology will make us better for our clients and make our firm bigger and better and more efficient. Just recently, we have embraced the remote worker environment. I mean, it's not going away, so it's embrace it or get left behind at this point. But we have several employees that never come to the office, and they're not close to an office either. So that's made us more efficient, allowed us to hire talent that we might not otherwise have seen because they don't live close, and get to use these processes. However, like you said, it's not always the answer. Sometimes just getting efficiencies down inside your office or getting efficiencies down with eliminating some paper and putting it, on a server in the office. It doesn't always have to be something that's continually connecting you to the internet or continually moving forward. Right now, one of the large topics is AI, and that is coming. And that's coming to the tax industry. It's coming to the bookkeeping. It's already in the bookkeeping industry significantly. Mm-hmm. It's a good tool. However, it's going to need oversight continually. It'll never be perfect. It'll still need a reviewer. It'll still need someone that might need to dig in to figure out what this transaction was. But in bookkeeping, you can almost do the entire set of books now with AI. Yeah. And I believe that's coming with tax returns very soon if it's not already here. So you take it in baby steps. You learn to use it as a tool. I always bring up the cotton gin or the plow. That was brand new technology then. And we had the same conversations then, but you slowly embrace it. You slowly move forward with it, and everyone gets more efficient.
Should we be, as an industry, because, I think sometimes that we hear about technology kind of within the mindset of doom and gloom. Okay. Yeah. And what I mean by that is like, AI is basically going to take all the accounting jobs. All of us tax professionals, we're all going to be out of work in 5 years. It doesn't really sound like that's what you're saying. But at the same time, though, the technology is there. How should we approach it? I mean, should we be scared of this?
So I don't think you should be scared of technology at all. I think it's always advancing and moving forward. But we do want to take it step by step, fully understand it, and know what we're getting into. And like I do, there's a extreme shortage of accountants, tax preparers, and CPAs right now. So that is not an issue, at least for many years, that it would take all of our jobs. If nothing else, it makes us more efficient, able to more quickly serve and hopefully take the frustrations out of our client relationships because we're more efficient, we're more productive, and we're able to handle maybe twice the clients because of these AI tools that are coming in.
Yeah.
I don't, maybe the industry doesn't have as many open job openings at some point, but still, I think that's years away because we have such a shortage right now.
I think that's an interesting point. Have you found ways to integrate AI with your current processes, or is that something that you're still working on too?
So really, the software companies are leading that charge because they're just putting it into their softwares, and we are kind of, using them when they're available, learning to use them if we would like to. We use QuickBooks Online a lot, and it has slowly introduced it over the past 3 or 4 years, where if you connect to the bank account and then transactions are automatically downloaded. Well, that was the first step, and we used to we'd have to go through each one, but then suddenly it started recognizing transactions. It started guessing what account they might go to, and now, for the most part, it can put them all in the right place. Manual written checks are the one things that has a hard time with because it can't read them. So there is still a place for the human interaction, but it is starting to change.
I think that's really interesting. Let me ask you about kind of a different angle on this, and one that that I think is kind of an interesting one right now. I've started to see some articles, started to see some news stories around this idea that technology might sort of be interfering with some of the relationships that we have with with clients and with other people. For example, I saw one the other day about how video conferencing like you and I are doing right now, that somehow that there's things in our brain that don't quite trigger kind of the same way as they would if you and I were face to face in the same room. Does technology, does it sometimes interfere with relationships, do you think? I mean, we've been talking about how it how it makes us more accessible, but does it interfere with kind of the interactions and the relationships that we have?
I think as far as the professional relationships, those are always arm's length anyway. We don't become super best friends with every client. We just don't. So I don't think there's issues there. Now, a communications expert might give you a different take and say to build a true friendship or relationship like that you're going to need to be in the same room at some point because there's more to communication than just looking at someone and talking. And really, the video calls like this, these are relatively new. I mean, COVID pushed all that forward. Before that, there was an idea, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now.
Right.
So I do believe that we can maintain those professional service relationships. And most of the time, our clients are super busy anyway. They really don't want to come into the office and waste half of their day. They don't want to, and even that's just being at the office. Maybe they had to waste the full day because they had to drive there and they had to prepare for it. Yeah. If we can just hop on a quick call and have a 30-minute conversation while they're sitting at their dining room table, they can get on with their day and be more productive. And generally they are successful, productive people.
Yeah.
There is, and I'm sure you've seen this too, there's a generation gap at the moment, but I think it's getting better. One thing that we're going to start doing in our offices, we do have physical locations. We do have a lot of clients that really like to come in. However, there's not always a professional sitting right there just waiting on him to come in, right? We have become more efficient. We are covering more ground at this point. So what I'm going to do is set up a remote station at each office that those clients could be put into an office, sit down, and then remote call with someone else. But they don't have to deal with the technology themselves. They just sit down, just like if you were sitting there. So we're making those stations to, I've said this several times, I'm trying to bridge this gap of the old method of doing things to the new method. Many tax firms and professional firms have gone completely virtual. While I think that's efficient and a good way to go, I do think they're missing out on a big percentage of the market that just won't do that. They still need to come in and see somebody or something or know that you exist. There's still in the market that feels that way. So we're trying to serve both.
I think that's an interesting idea, trying to sort of bridge that gap. I think you're right. I mean, I've oftentimes told other professionals as well as, some of my own colleagues about, there's something to actually just seeing the person on the other side and seeing,
Right.
how they explain things, how they talk, how they interact, seeing them get interrupted by their kids and moving their cat away from the,
Yeah,
from
that's
the
true.
screen and stuff like that. I mean, it's those little things that I think actually connect us, at least on some level.
You become more humanized at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you're right. Yeah. And we're trying to control our environments. I mean, obviously I've gotten away from the house and I've gotten in a spot here where it's controlled, but you're right. Stuff just happens and it does keep us connected. When we're in an office setting, you could say that is even pulled away a little bit and potentially if someone has a big, fancy, nice office and everything is perfect, well, that's also not really real life either. And so those clients coming in might be like, well, they're charging me to pay for this office.
Yeah.
There's always that's the car dealership mentality. The nice car dealership, they're charging more for their cars. So it's the same idea.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I wonder if if you are maybe a part of maybe you're a small business owner, or maybe you're just starting off and maybe have a small practice. You're a small tax professional or something. Do you? I think that sometimes that those folks that are kind of working in that small business space, that sometimes they worry about sort of, how do I stay on top of technology? I don't have a lot of money,
Right.
my time is crunched as it is because I'm trying to kind of get by and trying to help something grow, something
Right.
that I'm sure that you can identify with,
Yeah,
Cory. I mean, it's a, because I mean, you built your practice up. I mean,
Right.
I built businesses up. I mean, it takes time and you're feeling kind of stretched already. How do those folks kind of stay on top of what is going on in, the technology world? And where do they start when they're trying to get, trying to make their processes more efficient, trying to do the things that we're talking about?
Right. And I think it depends on what their long-term goals are. Like I
Right.
said, in tax practices right now, there's a divergence of, are we going to have an office or are we not going to have an office? And so that leads you in a different path, whichever way you choose to go. And in other professional service firms are doing the same thing. Small places that are trying to build maybe a retail store or a store that does need a storefront, they've got to balance all of those balls. So to get back to your question, you have to continually do research. You got to keep up on what is coming. And there's almost always a free version that you can try or get into and get exposed to, or just a cheaper version. When I first started out, I went to an online server, and it was a cheaper version of an online server. As we've grown, we've needed more. And fortunately, cash has allowed us to be able to afford more as well. And now we have a large Microsoft Azure server set up, and we have a good portal system and a good workflow system in place. But you got to start somewhere and start trying something. There are so many cloud services now. I mean, I started the firm 9 years ago, and the cloud services now are almost infinitely more variable than they were then. And so the options are out there. And I would say you can always find someone that's giving it for free somehow. But you have to stay on top of the research. You got to stay up on the news of what's coming and what might benefit your practice.
I think that's true. I think really kind of just the sort of desire to be aware, I think is
Right.
really important.
As accountants, and I've acquired 6 offices at this point, and a few of them were significantly old-fashioned, is what I'm going to say. They just, as accountants, once we figure out a way that works, we generally stick with it.
Yeah.
And I've acquired 3 offices that really were doing things from about 35 years ago, and they knew it. They knew it, but they were closing on retirement. They didn't necessarily want to change the entire way it worked. But I come in, and what we have done is we've upgraded them to the 21st century, to be honest, and we've got their processes better and faster and online, and it's created. Clients were just surprised. We didn't know this was an option. We've just always done it that way. So I have never been one for that mentality of, well, that's just the way we do it.
Right.
That's the way it's always been done. That's one of the worst sayings I think you can have in any business, because if you're going to be an innovator and you're going to push forward, that's the wrong mentality. You need to say, what can we do better? I see that process. How can it be better? How can it be more efficient? How can it be more profitable? And end of the day, that's what we're all here for.
Yeah. And I think you bring up an interesting point there because, one of the things that I hear about a lot is, I think some of the folks that I talk to, probably some of the folks that you talk to as well, they say, hey, I would love to sort of embrace some of this, some of this new technology that's out there.
Right.
But, the folks that are kind of at the top, they're very resistant to change.
Right.
Is
Absolutely.
is there any way to get around that? Is there any way to move them, or are we kind of stuck where we're at? Because I think if you were to talk to them, I think most of them would say, I'm stuck where I'm at. I don't know how to break through.
So it depends on who we're talking about that's stuck. Is it your boss or is
Yeah.
it your clientele? In this practice and in this world, you can start to mold your clientele to be who you want them to be. Um, you do not have to continue working for someone that won't adjust to the way that you're moving. And I think you don't just start cutting people.
Yeah.
You are clear with the path and the direction and the options they're going to have. And then at some point, if you need to stop doing it the way they're doing it, you just tell them that and you give them plenty of warning and say, we really are switching now. We can't do it this way anymore. We have to move forward. That's from the clientele standpoint. And sometimes they might choose to leave, and you just have to be okay with that if that's their choice.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in an industry where it's your superiors, I mean, I would say just as an entrepreneur, I mean, because I have a definitely a move forward mindset. And if you stand still, you die. That's my mentality in all of my businesses that we grow. And if your boss is that way, you just continue to try to put in front of them things that are going to work, but you got to back it up with the research and you have to back it up with facts because they see that they did it successfully and they've gotten to a place where they are successfully. And why would they listen to you when you want to change what they did that succeeded?
Right.
So you have to be ready to explain to them and basically sell to them because we're all in sales, right?
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be in sales, but
Yeah.
you got to be ready to bring down those barriers and those roadblocks that they're going to throw up because they are right in a sense that they've gotten here without that. So why do they need it?
Yeah.
End of the day, if you really feel stuck, you might end up going out on your own. That's what I
Right.
did.
Right.
And that's not a bad option either.
Yeah, it's not a bad option for those of you that are out there. I've made that leap. Although I have to tell you though, Cory, I always tell people whenever they ask me about going out on my own, I say that there's like a million reasons not to do it. Like if
Yep.
you read again, like you're going against research, you're going
Yep.
against statistics, you're going against basically everything.
Against reason, possibly.
Right. Yeah. Possibly against good reason, or possibly against, probably the good reasoning of your spouse or loved
Right.
ones too, But what's the one good reason to do it? I got to know if I can. I think, that was always my answer.
Me, it's a freedom. It's I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to make this. I'm going to build this, and I'm going to have the freedom to drive my life where I want it to go.
Yeah.
And make my own decisions. Occasionally you do that, you succeed, you get wrapped back up in with someone else, and maybe that's not a bad thing either. After you've put the hard work in and you get the reward. So there's a lot of good reasons to go out on your own. You're right, but it is not easy. I mean, I'm just going to put right there. It's just not easy.
Yeah.
It is difficult.
Yeah. If somebody is, kind of struggling on kind of where to start, on, kind of to streamline their processes to make their business kind of more efficient and better. Is there some sort of analysis that you typically recommend to people, or how do they begin kind of trying to figure out where they can be more efficient and be more streamlined?
Sure. And I think as far as an analysis, it could be an overall business analysis, potentially a SWOT analysis of your business and your strengths, potentially a demographic analysis. What are the clientele that is around you going to respond to and not respond to? But I would suggest getting with a good business coach or business consultant that can just see things from a different perspective. Because even if you do, let's say you do get out on your own, and I've started to experience this lately myself, only 9 years in, like I said, I'm 39 years old. I'm starting to experience where I see a whole nother generation coming into our industry with new ideas. And I'm trying to not be that boss that just says, we've always done it this way, we're not changing. So even if you get in and you're getting some success and you've done the hard work and you get someone new in, listen to them. Listen to their ideas because they have a new perspective. They have a new, completely different angle than you did when you started. So I think our people You ask, how do we get started? Sometimes that's it, because sometimes you're working so hard, you just forget that you're an innovator. You forget that you're supposed to be moving forward. You just do the job. But
Right.
sometimes our people that we hire, our labor force, they've got good ideas.
Yeah.
Encourage them, empower them to bring those ideas to you. Don't shut them down. And I think that's a good spot to start sometimes, just to research it
Yeah.
and see what we can do next. But we do business coaching here at my office, and there are offices that do that where they are a business coach. They'll get in deep. They'll come, they'll analyze your place for you, just give you a whole different perspective on what you're doing. And potentially they've seen it across the country. They've seen it in different, even decades, and they can kind of put all of those together and help you get a good process in place.
I think that's an excellent point. Sometimes, sort of seeing the opportunities is really just kind of a matter of kind of keeping your eyes and ears open,
Right.
as the old saying
Right.
goes.
Right. And don't put those walls up like, potentially your employer did to you.
Right.
Keep those walls down and listen. Our people are smart, and you hired them for a reason.
Yeah.
So listen to them and see if they've got a good idea.
Yeah. I think that's very well put. So, obviously, you've had some success with this, building a business.
Yeah.
Anything that you wish you knew before kind of embarking out on this journey? This is always kind of the interesting question, right? Is there anything you wish you knew kind of before that you know now that you would maybe tell yourself, 10 years ago and say, hey, young me.
Yeah.
I wish that young me would have known this.
Just how important these interpersonal relationships are with our people, with our clients, and with our sometimes our predecessors. Like I said, I have purchased several retiring CPAs, and those relationships I built with them were just invaluable. I mean, the knowledge I got from them, the mentorship I got from them, and they would teach me lessons as well. So just maintaining those relationships and not getting so busy that they get pushed to the wayside, because that's where you learn a lot, and you learn a lot from the experience of someone else. The other thing would be on kind of the flip side of that is maintaining those personal boundaries.
Yeah.
I would say with technology in particular, the first 5 years, I came back to a small town and it was my hometown. So I did know everybody already. They did already have my phone number, but just being clear and upfront about, hey, I don't do anything from Friday at 6 till Monday at 8. I just please. I'm going to be with my family. Just being clear about that and being confident that they're not going to be upset. They're going to appreciate it. I think doing that right off the bat really sets the tone for how you want to run your business.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. If folks would like to get a hold of you, Cory, what would be a good way for them to do that?
Honestly, get to our website first, and that would have all our contact information. So it's jcgcpafirm.com. We are in Southwest Missouri, and actually Northeast Oklahoma and Southeast Kansas, but we serve clients all over the country. We have fully went to a remote process capability. We're not a full virtual firm, but we have the ability to be. We have clients we've never met. They've contacted us one way or another, and they just send us their stuff through our portal. We work with them very efficiently there. We're working this year to make that process even better. And I'm really excited about the coming tax season and the ability to work with people through video calls like this as well. And not just tax returns, but also the business coaching, also the accounting, and whatever else they might need.
So folks, if you're out there and, maybe you have a small business, or perhaps, maybe you're a practitioner that is, trying to just sort of find your way, trying to figure out how to, maybe make your processes a little bit more streamlined, maybe trying to figure out how to achieve a little bit better work-life balance. That's a great way to do it. Reach out to Cory and talk to some of him and his staff about how to do that. I think that's a great first move. So anyway, thank you so much, Cory, for being on Accountable. I appreciate your time and appreciate your insight.
Thank you, Dave. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate talking to you.